coming up for the third fight of the night, we've got Angela Hill in her 24th UFC fight facing Gomes. Apologies if I mispronounced that. Could not find the pronunciation online. But we've got Angela Hill 10-13 in her 23 current UFC fights. No submissions to her record, no submissions to Gomes' record. And so we should see a fight on the feet for as many minutes as it lasts. And when it comes to Angela Hill, it more than often than not is going to last. Most of her fights go to decision. She is very much a pitter-patter on the outside type of fighter. Now 39 years old. We'll see how she holds up. She took a beating against Mackenzie Dern. And if you haven't watched that fight, I don't know if you should. I mean, if you're trying to bet Angela Hill, definitely don't. But she's on a bit of a skid and really losing 2 or 4 of her last 6 fights. And it's hard to really see anywhere where she's going to improve from here. She's not going to be adding new wrinkles into her games. You know, she's going to be doing volume at range to try and win on the scorecards. Not really damaging strikes, but enough. And she's facing Gomes, who really is a dog. She's a finisher. She was an underdog in her last 2 fights, and people are really going to want to harp on that Yasmin Uregi finish in 20 seconds. You don't really learn much when you finish somebody in 20 seconds. What you do learn in women's MMA, though, in particular, is that they've got power because that just doesn't really happen often. Now, we don't know how durable Uregi is. I'm sure she's less durable than Angela Hill, just given her time and tenure and how much we've seen out of Hill over the past almost decade or decade plus. But it'll be interesting. Where D is struggling in the past is that takedown offense, and I doubt she's going to get really challenged there. It'd be interesting to see if Angela Hill really went for one and notched her first sub. Those would be long odds. Not sure what those are, but we should get a fight that's going to be standing for all 15 minutes if it goes that round. And I think it will. So it's not really going to be an exciting fight. You're going to see more powerful strikes from Gomes, more volume from Hill, and it's going to be up to the judges to differentiate between the two. Andy, I'd love to see how you have the fight.
Yeah, so you know this, and some of the readers might from when we used to write our write-ups for the site, but I'm not the biggest Angela Hill guy. Not at all. I'm more of a Jamal Hill guy. But I think for her, it's just very telling that the UFC took her from a main event, and she's a ranked fighter in her division, right? And now she is the 3rd fight on this prelims with a 13-fight card. It's just so random with her, and I don't know if it's necessarily disrespectful or if they're really trying to put Gomes in this position to where, all right, you fought Angela Hill, now you can be ranked. Who do you want in the top 12, top 10 type of thing? I don't know what the strategy is here. What I do know is I totally agree. I favor the volume here. I don't think that Hill's going to get put out. Hill has absorbed plenty of shots, as we've seen throughout her career, and is just fine. Even at the age of 38, which is insane. She's had 23 fights. She's 38 years old. She's not going out in this fight either, even though it's on enemy soil, even though she has a 15-year age gap between the 23-year-old Gomes. I do really think that she's going to be able to soak up that damage and in turn still be able to load up on the volume. So even though I'm not her biggest fan, I am going to be taking Angela Hill to win the fight here for 1 unit on Caesars at plus 110. And I am going to tease this here because I'm not going to, not NFL tease, folks. This isn't Sharp in the Public. But I am going to say that I love the over 2.5 rounds at minus 300 as a parlay leg, which I'm going to throw into a parlay later in the preview. So stay tuned for that. But what betting angles do you see on this one?
Yeah, so I see this fight sort of similar to the first fight of the night between Fernandez and between Diakise, where you've got somebody that's going to burn hot early, and they likely will get ahead on the scorecards because of that. And then as the fight goes on, the more experienced veteran fighter with cardio and a full camp as well. In this case, both have full camp, but they start to pull away. And I think that what happens in those matchups is you get close decisions. And that's been that's been Angela Hill's entire career. She's had numerous split decisions across her UFC tenure, I think 5 or so roughly. And I think that this is a prime candidate for another one. The over-under is 2.5 with the over at minus 300. And so I'm going to take Angela Hill by split decision or majority decision at plus 500 as a hedge to having Gomes at minus 140 for an entire unit. I think that the only way Angela Hill wins is by a split or majority decision. I think that first round is definitely going to go Gomes. And then the second will be tight, if not Gomes. So I think that if Angela Hill wins, it's going to be by a controversial decision. And I just don't think it happens. So it's adding a little bit more juice to my card, but I think it's protecting me a little bit because I don't think she wins by running away with it. So I've got Gomes. Andy has Gomes. We'll see you at the pay window.
I've got Hill.
And at the
I've got Hill. No. I've got Hill. So I've got Hill. No. I've got Hill money line plus 110 on Caesars, and I can get you Gomes money line minus 125 on DraftKings. So give you a little bit better odds there as to pair with your hedge of Hill at split decision or majority decision. I think the volume is going to be the difference there, as well as absolutely love the over, which I'll tie into a later play. Keep it locked in with us here as we continue on and preview Vitor Petrino versus Modestas Bukauskas.